Hello everyone, my name of course is Resonant and welcome back to another video. Today's video is more of a discussion. I'll be putting out my thoughts and some questions, and I would really love to see your thoughts down below. The reason for this is because creating interesting discussions and bringing up topics like this really helps bring the community together, ready for the new game of Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. Speaking of being ready for the new game, there's been a lot of debate about the release of Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. How and when it will come to consumers. People have been waiting for such a long time. There have been many complaints that I have seen in the community about the wait, but I'm going to be looking at the opposite side of this. What could the advantages be of waiting such a long time for this game? Could the longer wait be a good thing? And could it help us get the best experience when the game is finally released? So sit back, relax and enjoy today's video. Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. Is waiting such a bad thing after all? Now obviously we have been waiting for some time. Since Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord was announced maybe 3 or 4 years ago now, people have been so hyped about it. But people have started to actually complain, and I think this is becoming a bit of a problem. So I'm trying to put on a different light for you kind of people that maybe are getting a bit annoyed by why we're waiting for so long. And I really want to see the discussion down below in the comments. Hopefully you've got some positive feedback on this video, and I'd love to see a bit of a discussion going on, not just down in the comments but on my Steam group that will be linked in the description. Now the first main reason I think the wait is probably going to be more worth it is because of course they have more time for the development on the core basics. Now as we know, Mount & Blade Warband is a very refined game. I'm not going to say it's a perfect game because no game is perfect, but for me it's probably my favourite game, and for a lot of people I know it's theirs as well. And Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord has to live up to this. Mount & Blade Warband started off as a tiny little indie game. The first Mount & Blade started being created, the creative processes started with 2 people. And now it's kind of built up with this massive fan base, they've grown their company. And Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord has got a lot of attraction from mainstream media and mainstream gaming audiences. And because of this, Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord has a lot to live up to. Warband was a massive success and is still a success to this day. Loads of people are still playing it and the community is thriving as ever. So how are Tailworld supposed to live up to such a massive success without spending a lot of time on it? I think what they're trying to do is trying to get the perfect game and mould it and craft it to exactly how they want it. We see these days a lot of people bringing out games that aren't really ready yet. Games such as of Kings and Men, Daisy and things of the like, and a lot of these are released in early access. The reason companies do this is so they can get a bit of extra money, or they can get a bit of feedback from the community and then they can develop it on that. But the downsides to this is that people start to go off the game. If they release a game that isn't quite ready, the community are going to start to get bored. They're going to realise that this is not the game that they wanted, and they're going to start to move away. We've seen that happen in games such as Daisy and of Kings and Men, and for some of them it could maybe be too late. And I really don't think Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord and Tailworld want to do this. I think they want to release the game they intended to. They want to keep the community thriving and move from Warband to Bannerlord as one fluent move. They need to bring out the game that the community really want, not an unfinished version of the game, not bits of the game that the community want, the whole package. And I think for the price, which will probably be around, I'd say £30 or $40 US, I think they really need to release a game that everyone is going to want to see and want to play straight away and not have to wait for updates, because they really don't want to get people bored of it. So I'm definitely happy that they are taking their time on it. Yes, it is longer than we all thought, but I'd rather they brought out a game that was as refined as they possibly can than bring out some early access mess that makes people get bored of it. I don't know, that's just my thoughts. What are your thoughts down below? Do you like early access? I've seen a lot of people saying they don't like early access and that it's a bad idea. I completely understand why, but I'd like to see your comments down below. Do you think they should bring out some early version of the game to start with and then update it as it goes on, like a lot of early access games? Or do you think even if we have to wait a bit longer, I think a lot of people would rather they brought out the full package? Now of course Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord have said there is going to be some type of public testing. May this be a beta? We have no idea if it's just going to be the multiplayer or maybe a bit of single player as well. The difference between a beta and an early access version of the game, an early access version of the game is a full paid experience. Here you have to pay the full price of the game, but you're not going to get a full game. which is very risky, especially if the developers on some games, such as, I remember one a long time ago called the Stomping Land, which I bought in early access, and the developers literally just ditched it. It had so much promise, but they ditched it in the end. So you have to make that risk. Is this worth buying into the early access, even though you're not going to get the full game you wanted? Are you're going to have to wait months and months, maybe even years, for it to get to the point that you're expecting. The difference between that and a beta is a free sort of testing. Most of the time it will be a multiplayer map, it will be some sort of demo version of the game that players can go into, they can play for a bit, and they can give feedback to the developers. And I think this is a really good way of doing it. Battlefield do it all the time, and it really helps them, especially with the multiplayer things. They can fix the servers, they can fix many glitches before the full game is released and before anyone even has to put a penny into it. So I really hope that Bannerlord and Tailwords really do this, but put a free public beta testing so they can get the feedback from the community. And that brings me on to my next suggestion. Another advantage to us waiting a bit longer is that Tailwords will be able to see more suggestions from the community. Like I'm doing right now, I am giving my feedback to Tailwords. Maybe not directly, maybe I'm putting it onto my channel, but like me, many other YouTubers have put videos onto their channels talking about what they think about what we've seen about Bannerlord so far, and what they hope to see. Now, the wait, yes, it may be a bit longer, but every single day that they wait, every single video that's uploaded, every single comment that they see on the videos, they'll be able to put into their game or make their game work around it. Let's say if we've said that we don't like this certain thing, Tailwords now have the chance to mold it around it, or maybe improve it to the standard that we've said that we want. Because I'm one guy, but I have a community here. We have other YouTubers of the Mount & Blade community that are just one person, but they have a community in it. Yes, a lot of it is the same community, but I've heard that Tailwords do like to go and look down all of the YouTube videos on the announcements they make and see the feedback, because the feedback is really important for game developers to get the game that they really want and get the game that people are expecting. So I'm really happy that Tailwords have taken the community into account here. And I think the longer they wait, yes, maybe let's hope they don't wait too much longer to get this game ready and raring, or at least give us some more info on how the development is going. But then again, they do get to improve it so much more with the community ideas that we're bringing out. And that's why it's so important for you guys to leave positive feedback down below. Leave your thoughts on Mount & Blade Bannerlord and where you think it's going. Leave your thoughts on this topic and other topics, because Tailwords really needs to see it. It's not just me that looks at it. I've heard that Frank Elliott, who is the Tailwords community manager, I think, he goes down the videos that are posted after the community events and that are shown at announcements and things, and he looks at feedback from you guys. So each comment is definitely worth it. So I definitely recommend putting some constructive comments down below. What you'd like to see, what you were looking forward to, and are you happy or not with the long wait that we're getting for Mount & Blade Bannerlord? I really want to see your comments down below. And now we have a bit of a controversial point that I'm going to make, and I can see both sides of this, as I think a lot of other people can. This is about building up hype. Now, while building up hype can be an amazing thing, it can really help boost a game, of course it can have a lot of downsides, but we're going to go for the positives for now. The things about building up hype is you can get a bigger community around it. A lot of the videos that I've made not have only grown the community for me, but a lot of comments have had people saying, hey, I've not really heard of this game before, thanks for showing me about it, and that kind of stuff. So people making videos on games like this really helps the games, it promotes them, and it brings them to a wider audience. As many of you know, Mount & Blade started off as a tiny little company with a tiny little fan base. Warband has made it grow over time, and then we saw that the PC Gamer events that we saw at the PC Gamer events at the stream, that there's such a massive audience, so many people were hyped for this, and because it's had a sort of snowball effect. With one person joining, they tell their friend about it, someone makes a video on it, so 100 people see it, those 100 people tell their friend about this game, it builds up a snowball effect, and in the end you get a really big fan base excited for the new game coming out. But what are the downsides to building up hype? Now, have we seen with examples such as No Man's Sky, hype can be a massive issue. People can get their hopes up, they can start thinking things that aren't even possible, and I've got to say I'm guilty of doing this. In my speculations video a while ago, I said a lot of ideas from you guys, so they weren't really my ideas. People had given me those ideas, they told me what they wanted to see, and they asked me to put it into a video. I've got to say, looking back at that, some of those things were a little bit unrealistic, and I think that's a bit of a problem with building up hype. People can get ideas that the developers just can't live up to. So yeah, we may have got an amazing game, but people might have expected more because they built up in their head some strange imaginary picture that this game was going to be so much more than the developers could actually make it. So you might have an amazing game, but people don't think it is an amazing game because they've thought too much more. They've built up their expectations too much, so that can be a bit of an issue, and I really hope that does not happen with Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. But other than that, guys, I think that's pretty much it for this video. In conclusion, yes, we have waited a long time for Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord, but is that such a bad thing? In my opinion, it isn't. I'm a patient person, and I can wait for this game, but I'm also really excited to see what news we have coming around the corner. I really hope that Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord and Tale Worlds can live up to the expectations and get out a game that they really like. We don't want them to push out any unfinished rubbish. We really want them to put out a refined game that the community is going to love and going to keep the Mount & Blade community going for quite some time, just as Warband did. But remember to leave your comments down below. What are your thoughts on waiting? Is it too long for you, or are you quite happy that they're taking their time with this game and they're going to make a game that is going to be worth the buy? But other than that, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to leave a like. If you didn't, dislike it. Subscribe to the channel for more content on Mount & Blade and games such as that. But until then, I will see you in the next one.